Welcome to The Explainer. Look, if you're a corporate learning and development leader, you absolutely know the drill. And let's be honest, you know the massive headache of trying to accurately measure the return on investment of your training programs. I mean, you fight tooth and nail for the budget, you secure the days, you pull vital people off the floor, and you pour just an immense amount of effort into the content. But proving to the executive team that it actually impacted the bottom line, that is the holy grail of L&D. It's notoriously difficult. But you know what? It doesn't actually have to be. Today, we're breaking down exactly how to secure that proof, starting with a fundamental shift in how we view the entire instructional design process from the ground up.
So, let's kick things off with a slightly uncomfortable question, shall we? Did your employees actually learn anything, or did they just really enjoy the catering? It's a classic trap in this industry. We see organizations run these massive full-day workshops, hand out a smile sheet at 4:30 p.m. and get glowing scores. Why? Well, because the facilitator was funny, the room was nice, and the lunch was fantastic. But let me be absolutely clear about something. Participant satisfaction is not a substitute for capability. High scores for the sandwiches do not guarantee that workplace behaviors are going to change. And really, this exposes a massive flaw in how most businesses evaluate their training programs. They treat evaluation as a complete afterthought.
And that brings us to a really crucial insight, captured perfectly in our source material. Defining success before designing the training makes evaluation considerably easier. This is the core thesis of our explainer today. You see, we naturally gravitate toward designing first, right? Because, well, that's the creative, engaging part of the job. But evaluation is not step 5. It's not something you just figure out after the fact once the program is already rolled out. It is step 1, literally. Before you even open PowerPoint, before you write a single role-play scenario, you've got to define exactly what success looks like in the real world. If you don't build the finish line first, you are completely flying blind.
Section 1. The vague objective trap. Why good intentions fail in the classroom. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast in how we typically set goals. Just look at the classic, incredibly vague objective on the left, improve leadership skills. Now, sure, that sounds fantastic in a glossy program brochure, but it provides zero guidance on what should actually change in the office the next day. I mean, how do you definitively measure improved leadership? You can't. It's entirely subjective, which means your evaluation will be subjective too. Now, contrast that with the measurable objective on the right. Use the coaching framework to conduct a structured performance conversation. See the difference? That changes everything. You can actually assess this. A manager can conduct a workplace observation, or you could run a targeted role play with a scorecard. It completely transforms a fluffy, well-meaning intention into a concrete, accessible action.
To kind of formalize this concept, we rely on what we call learning outcomes. These are the specific, measurable goals established before a program begins that provide evidence participants can understand, demonstrate, or apply the intended learning. Notice the absolutely critical words here, before a program begins and provide evidence. We're not just trying to fill a Tuesday afternoon with engaging activities here. We are building a strategic mechanism that is specifically designed to produce undeniable evidence of new capability.
So what does that evidence actually look like when it's applied in the real world? Well, successful training results in tangible, observable abilities. It might be the ability to understand and implement a new policy, demonstrate a practical physical skill, or maybe pass a rigorous compliance assessment. It could be successfully navigating a completely new software system, applying a fresh workplace process, fundamentally changing a particular behavior, or just consistently making better strategic decisions. I actually want you to ask yourself right now, which of these specific, measurable outcomes aligns with your current organizational goals? Because if you can't point to one, you need to put the whiteboard markers down right now. You simply aren't ready to design the training yet.
Section 2. The flow of effective design, from outcomes to evaluation. Securing those measurable outcomes dictates literally every single subsequent step in your program. It's like a giant puzzle. Here is the logical flow you absolutely need to follow. Step 1. Define clear outcomes. Only once you know exactly what they need to do differently tomorrow can you move to Step 2. Determine training content and activities. That tells you what to actually teach. Then we hit Step 3. Establish assessment methods. Basically, how will we check that they learned it while they're still in the room? And finally, Step 4. Create evaluation measures. How will we verify they're actually using it on the job? If Step 1 is missing, or even just a bit vague, the entire house of cards collapses. You'll inevitably teach the wrong content, you'll ask useless feedback questions, and you'll end up tracking the wrong metrics entirely.
Section 3. The evaluation timeline. When to actually measure success.
So, we've established that measuring success isn't just handing out a survey at the end of the day. True evaluation is a really comprehensive chronological strategy. Before training, you absolutely must establish a baseline. What are their current skills, or maybe their compliance error rates? During training, your facilitators should be running live polls and observing role plays to clarify any misunderstood concepts in real time. Immediately after, you assess learning and confidence to gauge immediate retention. And then here's the absolute most critical step. Several weeks after, you review workplace application. Did they actually use what they learned? This is exactly where manager observations and system usage data become an invaluable part of the whole picture.
I actually want to pause on this point for a second because it is literally the single most skipped step in corporate L&D. Without a baseline, it is incredibly difficult to determine how much actual change resulted from the program. If you want to calculate training ROI for the executive team, and by that I mean attributing a hard financial benefit to your program and comparing it to the cost, you need to definitively prove that your training caused the change. If you don't measure the starting line, you can never prove how far your people ran. Pre-training measurement is just an absolute necessity if you want to defend your L&D team's efforts and, crucially, secure your future budgets.
Section 4. The right environment. Removing barriers to evaluation with Carstens.
Here's the thing, though. You can have the most perfectly measurable objectives and the absolute best timeline mapped out, but if your physical space fights you, your evaluation's going to fail. Let's examine some of the purpose-built features across Carstens' premium Australian venues in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide. Their flexible room configurations support really varied assessment activities, from cabaret-style group work to intense, monitored role plays. Built-in AV and rock-solid Wi-Fi eliminate those annoying technical distractions, ensuring your live polls actually work when you need them to. Ergonomic seating and natural daylight sustain participant concentration through those really long sessions. And honestly, most importantly, having dedicated on-site support means your trainer isn't running up and down the halls looking for a whiteboard marker when they should be formally observing behavior.
This quote right here sums up the operational reality just perfectly. A well-organized environment allows facilitators to focus more attention on participants rather than troubleshooting logistics. It's so true. When a venue like Carstens handles the logistics flawlessly, the trainer actually gets to do their job. They can focus entirely on the evaluation, conducting the knowledge checks, and guaranteeing that those specific measurable learning outcomes we discussed earlier are being actively achieved right there in the room.
Carstens is fully equipped to handle a wide variety of critical programs, everything from corporate inductions and leadership development to complex multi-day or hybrid training. But the absolute critical factor here, the real game changer, is national training rollouts. When you are evaluating a national program, consistency between locations is absolutely vital. I mean, if assessment results suddenly plummet in one city, you need to know, was it a content issue or was it just a bad room layout and failing tech? Partnering with a consistent premium provider across the country completely removes the venue as a disruptive variable. And that makes your overarching evaluation data far, far more scientifically reliable.
We're going to leave you with this final thought today. When you sit down to design your next program, before you book the caterer, before you write a single line of content, I want you to ask yourself this provocative question. What will your participants actually do differently tomorrow? If you can answer that clearly, you are well on your way to measurable training success. Define those outcomes, build your evaluation timeline early, and ensure you have an environment like Carstens that actively supports your goals from start to finish. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.